We love you. Okay, just some more information on the audio. As we listen to more of the audio and get a few more pieces, bits here and bits there, because it seems to be all mixed up. We're kind of going back and forth on this video because that's kind of how they did the interview. So guys, I'm just going to start with, we all know Shannon got home about 1:48 a.m. on the 13th, on the early hours of Monday morning. We know that. So let's start there for a minute. Right. Chris Watts said he had sex. He had sex with Shannon. And he kind of says up around 2:30 a.m. Did he not say 2:30 a.m.? Around that time? Well, I just got to go back a bit on the, I don't know. Remember in the statements about Shannon, they said made a call and her card was declined at 2:30 a.m. Okay, her card was declined. Now people are saying she wasn't making a call. It was coming into her phone that her card was declined. So I'm not going to go back and read all those 900 and something reports. But they're saying she was not making a call at 2:30 a.m. Now, somebody could drop me a comment and see if they remember what the hell she was doing at 2:30 a.m. and if that was a call coming in. If you, just say you use a card and it gets declined, it tells you, but do you automatically get a text to say it was declined? Because if you do, you have had to use that card, wouldn't you? For them to text you saying it got declined. So anyway, that's a little bit up and down now as the story changes. It gets you a bit confused. What's the truth and what ain't? Well, anyway, apparently Chris Watts said at around 2:30 a.m. he says he was sleeping. He was sleeping and Shannon came and woke him up. But didn't Chris Watts say Shannon got home at 1:48 a.m.? Right, he said that she got home at 1:48 a.m. Now, how does he know that? He was sleeping or he wasn't sleeping? One or the other. To know she got home at that time. Now, I guess he could have looked that up later. Well, he could have. So we'll just leave that at that time. We'll just leave it at that for a moment. Because, you know, with this audio coming out, he's kind of changed his story a little bit and changed his times. Right? He says she comes into the bedroom because, you know, he says he sleeps in the basement, but when Shannon's not there, he sleeps in the bed. I don't know if we ever heard Shannon text into her friends and saying, oh yeah, Chris sleeps in the basement all the time. Yeah. Did she ever say that? Sometimes on the couch or something. But I don't think she said he sleeps in the basement as much as Chris Watts said he slept in the basement. Well, then it goes on. Well, they asked him, well, what does she do when she came into the room? Well, he said, I was sleeping and she kind of nudged me and then kind of rubbed my leg, something like that, rubbed my leg. And I knew it was time. It was time for sex. Yep, that's what he said. She came to him, woke him up, gave him a little nudge, and said it was time for sex. Right, that's his story. That's one of his versions. Now, a lot of people don't believe he had sex with her. Now, I'm thinking he never did have sex with her. Well, first off, remember her friends in Arizona were worried about her. She was feeling sick. But mainly she was worried about her marriage, I guess. Probably that made her sick to her stomach. And worrying if what's going on in their marriage. Why isn't he the same as he used to be? Something's different. He's messing around with people. Oh, and another thing that upset her. What upset her was that he had used the credit card. So she wasn't very happy about that. Now, so all these little things going through her head, she probably woke him up to have a chat with him. Or he was never sleeping in the first place. This is what I'm saying. Now, they asked Chris, how does your wife sleep? To that effect. And he says, well, normally she lays on her side. But you know what? She was laying on her stomach. With her face down, kind of thing. Yeah, well, that night she was laying face down. And yes, we can believe that one. Because the reason why he can remember she's laying face down and she don't normally lay like that is because he put her there. He put her there in that position. Later on, as we go along here. Because this is the way she ended up, was face down on that bed. So that's kind of how he says that's not normal. Well, anyway, after they had sex, I guess, you know, the lawyer said, the lawyers for, you know, the Ruseks, said that they had a little bit of an argument. They made up, had sex, went to sleep, woke up and had another argument. Now, when did this all happen? When did that apparently all happen? Well, he said that when he was on Dr. Phil's show. So that's their version. And, well, anyway, he, then as he's going on in the conversation, this is why I'm saying I'm going to go back and forth, because this bit of interview that I was listening to was just going back and forth. I couldn't keep up with it. I'm just like, at one time he says he nudges her. He nudges her. And this is when, apparently, he woke her up later in the morning when he was getting up ready to go to work. But I heard the time, 5 a.m. in the morning. Now, I thought it might have been around 4 a.m. in the morning because he gets up around 4:30 to go to work. He stated that in one of his interviews. That's kind of his time. Or 5 o'clock. So, I'm not sure what time he woke her up. But he said he was, at one point in one of the interviews, he said he was dressed and then he woke her up to talk to her. In another interview, he doesn't say anything about him being dressed. So, you know, we got to go along with this because it's back and forth, back and forth. Well, anyway, when he nudges her, he then gets on top of her right away. He gets on top of her right away. Now, who does that? Who jumps on a person and straddles them to talk to him for 15 to 20 minutes? Because that's what he said. Now, if this happened around 5 a.m. and he says he got on top of her and straddled her and was talking to her for 15 to 20 minutes, and then he kills her, right? He strangles her. So that takes a good, say, 5 minutes. Okay? Let's say 5 minutes. It may have been more. I don't know. Because he said he was strangling her, and he couldn't let go. He couldn't let go. He doesn't know why, but he couldn't let go. He said it felt like forever. So, if this happened around 5 a.m., 15 to 20 minutes and 5 minutes, you know, there's another 25 minutes. And then we see his truck. He's going out to his truck, and the surveillance from the next door neighbors, okay? What time was that? Backing off the truck around 5:15, 5:30-ish. That's kind of not when he left. That was kind of when he backed his truck up. Okay. Well, this couldn't happen at 5 a.m. and couldn't happen how he said. So it must have happened earlier. That must have happened earlier, the killing, because there wouldn't have been enough time. So it didn't happen at 5 a.m. So it happened earlier. But anyway, that's the part that he says that's how he strangled her. Now, they asked him, why didn't she fight you? Why wasn't she struggling? He says, he don't know why she didn't fight back. She didn't fight back. At this time, you see, Shannon's facing him because he said she's laying on her back, okay, because he straddled her. And he said, but what was she saying? How come she didn't, you know, struggle? And what was your eyes doing? You know, they want to see if, didn't you see her eyes bloodshot or something like that? Because you know when somebody's being strangled, their eyes are bloodshot, okay, from the strain. And he kind of says he don't know about that because he couldn't see her face or wasn't looking at her face. Well, he's a damn liar then, isn't he? Because if you're strangling somebody and they're laying on their back, then you can see their face and you can see their expressions. And where was her hands? How come she couldn't grab your neck and mark you up more? You know, scratch the hell out of him, give him a few whacks on his face, you know, anything, but nothing. So this is why she wasn't laying on her back. She wasn't laying on her back in the first place. He's lying about that, in my opinion. And you guys can have a discussion on this and put your comments in and have your own opinion. Because he did say one time she was laying on her belly, face down. Now, when Bella came into the room, you see, Chris said, now I don't know what time she came into the room, but whenever Bella came into the room, he said she didn't see all this. But the funny thing is that Bella did say, this is what Chris said though, that's what Bella said, what's wrong with Mummy? Now, Bella's come into that room lots of times and her mum's been to sleep on the bed, right? Lots of times. Has she ever asked her dad, what's up with Mummy? No. She would just assume her mother was sleeping, wouldn't she? Because she says the kids come in and wake her up. You know, and she quickly puts them in bed with her so they go back to sleep for a little nap, a little bit longer. I mean, Shannon has said that. So the first thing out of Bella's mouth wouldn't say, what's up with Mummy? Unless something odd was going on. Because she's a smart girl, apparently. She's a smart girl. She's a quick thinker. She knew something was different. That's because Chris said that Shannon was on the bed, because they asked him where was Shannon at this time. He said on the bed, and he was getting the sheet to wrap her up. Well, and they asked him kind of thing, well, she's facing. Well, she's facing down. She's facing down on the bed. Oh yeah, I was listening to him and he said facing down. Well, he said at one point she was facing down, but when he was getting the sheet to wrap her up, she was facing down. So that means he took her under aware. She was probably sleeping, and he put her on her facing down and straddled her, and he got her from behind. He got her from behind, I don't know, sunk her head into the pillow, wrapped her up in a sheet. She couldn't move. He had her in a hold. He had her on a chokehold, and he choked the life out of her. Yeah, he choked the life out of her from behind. Now, what woman, especially a pregnant woman that's feeling sick and tired, that you're going to let somebody sit on your stomach and straddle you and talk for 15 to 20 minutes? No, you could just lay there and talk, couldn't you? You could just lay next to a person or sit on the end of the bed, couldn't you? Now, that itself is very suspicious. Who does that? Has he ever done that before? That's what he does? Well, there's more to this story. There is more. When he woke her up to talk to her, and then he said he straddled her for 15 to 20 minutes when they were having this discussion. Apparently they'd had a discussion before this, because he was kind of worried about a few things, what was said. He said he never told Shannon he was having an affair or had a mistress. He said Shannon told him. Oh yeah, that's what he said. Now she told him, and she thought he was having an affair because of the way he was acting, distant from her, and all that. So she apparently told him he was having an affair. Yep. And he says he never told Shannon he was having an affair. He never agreed with her. He didn't say, oh yeah, I'm having an affair and I'm going to leave you. No, apparently he didn't say that. And what Shannon said, this is what he said. He said, one of her comments, we don't know exactly when this was said, that you'll never see the kids again. You'll never see the kids again. So in his, his little brain, because he's got an IQ of 140, he's got this big IQ. He's very smart and remembers everything. He's got a good memory. This is what he says. That because she said that, because any normal person would say, oh yeah, I'll never see the kids. Maybe you won't never see the kids because, I'll fight for you. I'm going to fight for custody. And I'm going to fight for custody too. So if you want to fight me for custody, I'm going to fight you. Any normal person would say that. Because in Colorado, there's not a no-fault divorce. No-fault divorce. So if you are having an affair, that's not going to be held against you. So there wasn't too much to worry about that part of it. It doesn't look good on you, but it's a no-fault divorce. So, and another thing, a no-fault divorce means, well, in some places, I don't know when it comes to kids or anything, it's 50-50. Yeah, 50-50. 50-50. So, you think a man who's planning to leave his wife and get some kind of custody for the children would have looked into the law, right? He would have looked into the law and he would have known his options, right? Yeah, because Shanann looked into the law. She was looking into the law. She knew a few things. But you would have thought he would have done something by now if he's planning on leaving her. Yeah, well, he acts like he don't know nothing about the law. Because now he's thinking, he did say in his audio that he was thinking about this. It was eating him up. Mind-blowing. He thought, I'm never going to see my kids again. I'm never going to see my kids again. This is going through his head right away. Man, she only just said you'll never see the kids a little bit ago. It doesn't mean you're never going to see the kids. You know, people get mad and say that, but she can't stop him seeing the kids, right? Ugh, God. Well, anyway, this is his P-brain, his 140 IQ level. So he's thinking about this. He's thinking and it's going in his head and he's thinking about it, rethinking about it, and it's eating him up. So he thinks, if I go to work today, this might be the last time I see my kids, and when I come home, they'll be gone. They'll be gone. Well, does he think Shanann's just going to up and leave that very day and leave to go somewhere? He said, and another thing he said, the doors will be locked and I won't be able to get in. The doors will be locked and I won't be able to get in. Sure, lock me out. No. You kind of have to laugh because this is what he's saying. The doors will be locked and I'll be locked out. Yeah? Okay, she kicks you out. What's wrong with that? You're kicked out. Okay, it's not the first time you've been kicked out of that house, is it? Remember? Remember when they say, Chris Watts said about arguing, they never get in an argument. She's never yelled at me, and they've never had big arguments, and, you know, she's never hit me, or she's never done anything like that. But remember in one of his statements, he said he got kicked out because he disagreed with her. And he got kicked out the house for the night. He had to leave and go to a hotel, and he had to call his job up and, you know, and tell him, can I use the vehicle? Because I got kicked out the house and I need to go to a hotel. And his job gave him permission to use the truck. Well, we're just going back a way now, but that was said at one point. So him saying, no, we've never had an argument. And you know the neighbors, whichever neighbors it was, remember when they said that they heard him yelling? Well, one time was outside, and when they see him, they shut up. And another time they said, I don't know if it's the same people, another time was they were yelling real loud and having arguments, and Chris was real angry and aggressive. If I was her, I'd leave him. Remember that statement? Well, that neighbor has since retracted that statement. Yes, he did. He retracted it because he lied. Now, that's coming from the investigators that are saying that was not true. For Christ's sake, even the neighbors are lying. Now, why would they lie about hearing arguments? You know, okay, yeah, I heard my neighbors yelling and the dog barking and they're always arguing. They have many arguments. No. Nah. Okay, then. Anyway, the investigators said that was since retracted and was not true. Now, can you believe that one? Why would he retract his statement? We don't know, guys. What do you think? That's coming from the investigators. Chris Watts said they never argued and she never touched him. And he was a pleaser. You know, save arguments, just do it. But yet they did have arguments. They had plenty of arguments. Now, don't say nobody ever has arguments or disagreements or don't agree with something. Because as we know, they did have lots of arguments over the kids and his mother and the mother-in-law. And Chris goes on to say that these problems started the day he got married. Now, he said he's going way back from the day they got married, and they didn't come to the wedding. They weren't in the wedding photos, you know, all that. And so now he's blaming that. Yes, guys, he's going back and saying it all started back at the wedding. And I don't know why truly the parents didn't go to the wedding, and his sister. I think Chris Watts resents that, what they did. He resents it because I guess it's kind of childish for them not to show up to their son's wedding. You don't like the woman. You don't like what she's doing, what she's saying. She don't like it because you are leading her son in a different path. You're getting married and you're going to move away. Or something like that. I don't know what kind of mother. Is she a jealous mother? Possessive mother? Well, it seems like the sister's the same. She's kind of having the same reaction. Well, anyway, so just don't understand their family. And another thing, they said, I don't know, Chris Watts say that? He must have said it. Yes, he did. He said, I don't know which point he said that, but he had made a statement during one of his audios that when they got married, they didn't come to the wedding, obviously, and then later on, all of a sudden, they're moving to Colorado. And the reason why is Shannon. It's Shannon's fault they moved to Colorado. You know that, guys? Because Chris Watts said Shannon took him to Colorado. Now, he said it's Shannon's fault for taking him to Colorado. Yep. Now, there's another one. He blames her for that. And so, in turn, the mother and sister resented her for taking their son and brother away from them and moving to another state. What the hell? Do you know what? Chris Watts can have his life. He can move whatever state they want to move to. But they think she did it deliberately. So they could be far away from the mother. Yeah, you know they're thinking that, right? You know that. You know they're thinking that. That was just something she had to do to take her son away. Now, I don't know why this mother has a hold on her son. What hold does she have on her son? Why didn't she want her son to have his own life? You know, we don't know that. And I'm just making my opinions because we don't know them. We only hear of what's going on. And we can see what's going on for what we've seen and heard so far. I don't know him personally. I don't know the whole story. Like the mother said, she'd never seen none of his girlfriends. You know, what does she think? Her son never has a girlfriend or something? Maybe he never. Now, apparently he did have a girlfriend because she got on YouTube and called in on one of the channels. But we don't know if it was her or not. People saying it was fake. But anyway, if it was true, if it was real, she had a long-distance relationship with him. She met him at the college. She was going to NASCAR school too. And she says she never went home to meet Mama. Who has a girlfriend and then you never meet? You go out for 2 years, on and off, but never meet your parents. Okay, you're busy. But if your boyfriend and girlfriend, you meet their parents and friends, and at some point they meet your family and friends, don't they? Okay. Well, I was just wondering about that. So the story goes along. Now, the talk they had when he woke her up and he straddled her for 15 to 20 minutes. The talk was about selling the house. Yep. This was great urgency that he talks to her about selling the house. And then he talks to her about canceling the trip to Aspen. And, you know, now's not the time. Let's go to Brighton instead. You know, blah, blah, blah. And we are not compatible anymore. He says that to her. We are not compatible anymore. And apparently, Shanann told him to get off her. She says, get off me. And at this time, she says, you're seeing someone. But I thought they had this well, anyway, this is when he said he has that talk. And this is when she says, you're seeing somebody, when Chris tells her that. And Chris says, no. He tells her no. He says he never told her he was seeing anybody. Shanann accused him of seeing someone. Of course, he just says that we're not compatible anymore and we're going to sell the house and let's cancel the trip. So, you know, that says that to a woman. You know, they're going to say, hey, you're seeing somebody. Because Shanann can't believe what a changed man he is. Other than he's seeing another woman. And he's cheating. Well, like I said, if Chris Watts said he had sex with his wife, he's having sex with, you know, NK as well. He's cheating on both of them. He's a cheating liar. And you know what Chris Watts said? He had the nerve to say, I feel so guilty. So guilty. He said, I felt more guilty than I did before. Really? That's not what he was saying when he was staying at Nicole's house, you know, NK's home. Remember? He said, well, Shanann and the kids were away in North Carolina for those 6 weeks. Well, he met her for 1 week, so those 5 weeks, they were gone. He wasn't with them. Most of the time, he stayed at Nicole's home, right? And he said, I feel free. I don't even feel like I'm married. I don't feel like I have kids. Yeah, he said that. Because he's not reminded of anything. It's not like he stays at the home and he can see pictures everywhere. And it reminds him that he's a married man with children and cheating on his wife. But staying at Nicole's home, he didn't see these pictures. So he felt free and he was feeling good. He was living like a single man. And remember that text Shanann sent him? He's eating steak and living like a bachelor. Oh yeah, she made that statement. But funny enough, you know, Shannon was calling him all the time, texting him all the time, 24/7. And he was replying 24/7 too. You know, if somebody don't want you or anything, why do you have to keep texting them? Okay, you text them, but why do you have to keep answering? You know, just ignore him. But he couldn't. And she couldn't ignore him neither. So their texts and calls go on all the time. Well, that July the 4th, he was at Nicole's home. But he went back in the morning. He woke up and had missed calls from, you know, the wife. And I think Nicole was in the shower or something. They were going to do something that day. And all of a sudden, you know, Chris says, I got to go back to the house. You know, and apparently Nicole was not happy about that because why did he have to, what was the urgency of him going back to the house on July the 4th? Why did he have to go back to the house that day? I don't know. But anyway, this is just what he says. It just ain't making sense. Ain't making sense one bit to me. He keeps changing his story, mixing it up a little bit. But you know what? We want to know when two people are talking about whatever, because we only got his word for it, what the hell they were talking about. We've only got his word for it. And two people talking, and they went from talking to killing somebody that fast. Boom. He's killing her that fast. All he wanted to do, he woke her up to talk to her, to tell her. But you know what? When she said, you'll never see the kids again, I don't know, that was a trigger. I think it might have been a trigger. And who knows what she said. But you know what? He was an adult. He knows that he will see the kids again. So I don't think that part was true. Because it's great. He's just using that for an excuse. He's had plenty of time to think of what to say. And apparently he seems to know what's going on social media. He seems to know a lot because people are telling him everything that's going on, what's being said. So this is being said. They think you did this to the family. They think you did that to the family. They think this is what you were doing. And he's putting the record straight. He wants it to come out the horse's mouth that, you know, these rumors must stop, because he doesn't want people feeling the way they feel about him when it's not true. How about that? I think he was thinking on the lines when, you know, Trent Bolt was saying, you know, Trent Bolt, the gay guy, said that he had a 10-month relationship with Chris Watts. He didn't like that, you see. He didn't want people thinking that he was gay. So there's another reason why he wanted to get it out there. That is not true. He don't know this guy. And anyway, he did not have a 10-month relationship with this guy. Now, the detectives debunked that, and they were saying, I don't think they had any proof that this was going on. And they interviewed him, and I think that was left at that. He was just... Now, we don't even know why Trent got on the media and said that in the first place. You know, you need proof to back your story up. Now, he had his phone number and everything. Well, anybody could get his blinking phone number, couldn't they? He knew where he lived. He knew where he worked. You know, stuff like that. So, the man's a lunatic, I think. You know, that Trent. I don't even know why he wants to embarrass himself like that. But he's not the only one that did it, okay? Because the other stories about, you know, the girl, saw him for a couple of weeks. And he bought her pizza. You know, they lifted up and had pizza and then had sex. Now, she was interviewed. Seems like that's not true neither. Because Chris Watts doesn't want his friends to think that he was messing around with all these people. Yeah. He can't deny Nicole, can he? He can't deny that one. Because, you know, if he could, he would have. But he can't deny Nicole. But he's denying the rest of the rumors, and he wanted those rumors to be put to rest. And the investigators asked if Chris wants to press charges. That kind of made me chuckle. Do you want to press charges or something? What the hell are they doing? Trying to humor him? Oh my God, trying to be his best buddy? Hey, just tell us and we'll help you out. We might be able to help you out. Oh, for Christ's sake, to put these rumors to rest. Well, Chris kind of said, declined that one. He just says he wants to know, he wants to tell everybody that it's not true and it's making him look bad. Wow, that's the last thing on my bloody mind. That having an affair is going to make you look bad. No matter if it's a man or a woman. That any affair is going to make you look bad. Hey, mate, what do you think you just did? You just killed your wife. And you tortured your 2 children. And you threw them in the tanks before their bodies were cold. And hopefully they were dead. Because little Bella had to watch everything that was going on that day. She see with her little eyes, she see her dad wrap her mother up. She see her dad carry her mother down the stairs and dropped her. She see her mother dragged down the stairs, bumpity, bumpity, bump. Yeah, because Chris Watts couldn't carry her. She was too heavy. And he dropped her. Because he said he lost his grip, so that meant he dropped her. And he kind of took her down the stairs one step at a time. So bumpity, 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 bump. And that's probably why there were some marks on the steps, like somebody said, mention mascara or something. I'm not sure, but maybe some mark on the step, on the stairs leading to the living room. Well, anyway, so Bella see this, and so that was another part Bella see. Now, when we get to later on, when we get to the work site and the tanks, that Bella, I say Bella watched everything. This is all about Bella right now, because she see everything, and she's kind of putting 2 together. She knows something's not right. Something's not right. This is different. What's going on? My mommy's not even talking to me. She's not saying a word. But he already said to her, Mommy ain't sick. We got to get her to the hospital. We got to get her out of here. But you know what? She knew she wasn't at the hospital when she was at this middle of a field. She knew it wasn't a hospital. Because, you know why? Because she'd been to the hospital so many times. She knows what a hospital looks like. You know, in her little... you know, this little girl with this little body, with this mind is so bright. She knows what a hospital looks like, for Christ's sake. She's nearly 5 years old. You can't fool her. Now, God knows what else he said to her. But when he got to the work site, we'll just skip ahead here a little bit. She watched her dad drag her mother's body out of the vehicle. Do you know what? It was light outside by this time. She could see everything. So she's watching. She watches her dad take her mommy out. Now, her daddy said, I'm taking mommy to the hospital. But she's looking. But her daddy is taking her mommy in the middle of a field. And then he don't come back with her. And then she watches Cece die before her eyes. And then this is what Chris said. He didn't take both kids to the tanks at the same time. He didn't carry them to the tanks at the same time. He did it one at a time. So this is kind of what he said. I was just a bit mixed up on this, but this is what he said. He took Cece, opened it up with the nuts and bolts, but he never says how long, or they never ask him, well, how long did it take you to unbolt this, with all these nuts and bolts? And how long did it take you to put them back on again? Okay. He said that she went in okay, with no problem. Feet first. And then Bella's watching this. And he doesn't come back with Cece. Where's Cece? And this is when Bella says, are you going to do to me what you just did to Cece? Yeah. Bella knew what was coming. And Chris says he can't remember what the hell he said to her. And this is when he put the blanket over her head and suffocated the life out of her. Now, Cece was fighting. Cece was fighting to save her life. But we know that she couldn't. She's only a little girl. We knew she was helpless. And he said her head was thrashing from side to side to side to side, thrashing away. And this is where she busted her lip. Her lip, her bottom lip inside her lip was missing. It was bitten off or something like that. A lot of damage done to it. And they asked Chris, kind of how that happened. Did you know that happened? And you know what? He likes asked him, what? Her lip was busted? Like that was the biggest deal of it all. What? Oh no, her lip was busted? Oh, for Christ's sake. Don't you know you was killing her? Don't you know? Oh, but he was upset because her lip got busted. He said, well, she was thrashing her head from side to side. Maybe that's when it happened. He said, well, didn't you see? He said, no. He said, I had the blanket over her head. And her last words were, Daddy, no. Daddy, no. So, I guess those words were spoken when she said, are you going to do to me what you just did to Cece? Because we know that she see everything. She was watching him. She was watching him and she see what he did. She's putting two together. And when she said, Daddy, no, that was when he was put the blanket over her head. Because, when he was suffocating her, I don't expect she could talk. She couldn't talk. So anyway, guys, that's kind of how that ended. And, so he just cold-blooded murder. Cold-blooded murder. Now, this is probably why he didn't want to go to trial. He didn't want to go to trial. But you know what? Even if he went to trial, nobody could prove that those kids were alive before, when he put them in the truck. Now, nobody really could prove that 100%, because before that they were thinking that they were dead. He killed them in the bed. Now, they probably were going to stick to that story. Now, all he had to do was stick to that story and been done with it. But no, this idiot this stupid idiot wants them to come and talk to him, and he'll tell them the truth, the way it happened. But now he looks even worse. Now he's more of a sicko, and now more people hate him more. This ain't going away. He's just made things more worse. Now he really is the most hated man in America. Or maybe the world. Because now he's come out. And you know what? The reason why he come out, because he didn't want people feeling bad for him. He didn't want them to feel bad and sorry for what happened. Now, this was before, you idiot. This was before you just told this confession. They kind of believed what happened a little bit, you know. Maybe not believe Shannon killed the kids, but maybe believed his story somewhat. And now he's just blown the bubble. Now, if he thought he had friends before and he didn't want to hurt his friends, well, it's done the opposite, because I'm sure his friends will be sickened by what they heard now. They're going to feel even worse. Now you really don't have any friends, because now they know what an animal and what he did. And he had, you know, at least an hour to change his mind, to drop him off, to run, to go back home, put her back in the bed and say, for Christ's sake, you know, let me call the police. Something like that, maybe. But he didn't. His life was over. Well, his life was over, but your kids were still alive at that time. He could have fought this and had temporary insanity or something like that, and he still would have went to prison. Yes, he did. But maybe not for life. But I guess he wasn't thinking. No, he said he wasn't thinking. He wasn't in his right mind. But yes, he was in his right mind. He's an idiot. That's all I know. So that was kind of that part of it. Well, Chris Watts does say, I'm just going back a little bit, just to remind you guys that Chris Watts, you know, as he said, he was straddling Shanann and why she wasn't fighting and blah, 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 and all that. And it's 15 to 20 minutes he was talking to her, sitting on her stomach, which wouldn't, well, nobody would do that. She wouldn't want that happening. After that, you know, when he got off her, right, she would be still laying in that position, right? Right. So she's kind of laying like that. He gets up and he's going to cover her with the sheet. And the detectives asked, you know, asked this question. And he said, yeah, she was laying face down. Yep, she was laying face down. He contradicted himself. You can't be choking one person 1 minute and blah, blah, blah and sitting on her, she's face up and he's strangling her. No, because she wasn't faced up. She's face down. He got her from behind, or he wrapped her up in a cocoon. I said he cocooned her. And he did cocoon her because she couldn't move. Face down, wrapped in a sheet. He straddled her and got her around the neck. I don't know. But whatever happened, she was facing down. She was facing down. And they said something about, did you see the mascara? Well, yeah. Because if she was face down, she was suffocating and her mascara was rubbed. Yeah. Because her mascara was rubbed into the pillow. You know. smudged it. Anyway, and you know what? It's weird how a person, you would say they were facing down when you're sleeping, when he says she never lays that way. Now, funny, on that night, she laid that way. That's because he suffocated her that way. Yeah, he can tell one half-truth to another half-truth, but the storyline is the same. You're a big fat liar. Now, after a little bit, we all know about, this, about him going to the tanks, why he was there that morning. He talks about he was going, and it was planned that he was going there on the Friday. It was arranged for him to go to that site on the Friday. He kind of confirmed it and everything on the Sunday. Him and Nikhil talking forever, on the telephone with the texts. We know all about that. And, they were suffocated with blankets, yet the autopsy says there's no fiber in their mouth, in their throats. There's no sign of, they did say that. They said there's no fibers. Now he's said that he has smothered them both with a blanket. And we know when you smother somebody with a blanket, the fibers are going to come off. But maybe they were washed away or something, with the oil. I don't know. But the autopsies could not find. That's because when they said she was strangling the children, they said they wasn't strangled. They were smothered. Well, he kind of said they were smothered, and he said they were strangled also. Yeah. There's 2 or 3 things he said that happened. Strangling and suffocating might be the same thing to some people. But now he's admitted to that he used blankets to cover their face and smother them to death. So why wasn't there no fibers up their nose, in their mouth? Like I said, maybe it did get washed away or something. Or maybe they missed something. Then they also asked him at one point, did she miscarry the baby that you know of? And he said no. Well, you know what? How could he see this or whatever the hell's happening? Because, he had her wrapped in a sheet. He had her wrapped in a sheet. And plus he had black bags on her head. Black bag on her feet. So, how would he know if she was miscarried the baby right there? Well, anyway, she did, because the way she was put in that hole, he put her in that hole face down, with her butt sticking up. Like little babies sleep, They all sleep like that when they're little babies. Well, and that's probably the pressure helped that baby come out sooner than it should have, dispelled itself because of the position, its gravity, because of the way she was put in that dirt. Now, if he decided to kill his kids, why did he decide to put them in the oil tanks? Where did he come up with this great idea to do that? Well, straight away he went over and put her in a hole in the dirt. Why didn't he put his kids in the dirt, in the hole? No, he has to degrade his kids even more. I thought he hated women or hated his wife, but he did more of a dirty deed by doing what he did to his kids. So, I don't know. What do you think, guys? It's just, that's true, right? He did the worst thing to his kids. Now, Bella's the one that suffered the most. She was tortured till the end because she see from the start, and she understood what her dad was talking about, whatever they were talking. She understood that her mother wasn't moving. She understood that her mother's wrapped up in bags. That's not normal. You know, this little girl understood everything that was going on, and she watched everything. She was tortured to the end. She watched everything. So, she was tortured. That's what love is, guys. That's what love is. And so he talks a little bit about the morning when he got the phone call from Nicole Atkinson. When he got that call, he was not at Survey, 319. He had moved on to the next job by then. And he said about, 10 a.m. or something like that. But you know what? He never got home until 1:30 in the afternoon. What he did with the blankets and toys or whatever he had, surely the blankets, he got rid of them. He got rid of them. And he left the shovel or whatever it was. I think he left the shovel or some kind of thing at the work site. And they asked him, this is another thing they asked, where are you planning on going back there? And you know what he said? He said, no, I don't think so. No, I didn't have really no plans on going back there. What does he think? What does he think? That, that body's not going to smell? It's not going to attract animals? He left her in a sheet, and he didn't even bury her properly. He wasn't going back there, and he hadn't been to that job site for a long time. It's not a job site he goes to. I don't know, he's talking about a year or something. He hadn't been there. See, they have their jobs, but they don't go to every site all the time. It's only once in a while. I don't know what they do there. They must have lots of tanks to take care of. So that was another thing he said. He said he didn't have no plans on going back to 319 to finish the job, because they're thinking that, the way that they found her she wasn't buried very well, to be buried forever, never to be found again. She was only partially buried. Now, and that's how they picked her up on the drone. That's how they found her, with the drone. I think they found her around the same time Chris was talking, but they still would have found her on the drone. So, the drones pick up a lot of things these days. So anybody got a drone? It works wonders of going to places no man can go. Anyway, they talk about the song by Metallica. What did the words mean? What was the lyrics about? Nicole asked him what the lyrics were about. And, he's supposed to have been a fan of Metallica. But he said he had to look it up. He looked up the lyrics. And what the lyrics mean. And it does say that, you don't kill your family. You know what I mean? Okay then, whatever. So anyway, the song doesn't have much meaning to the murder. It's a song. There are thousands of songs out there. There's, you know, it doesn't mean you're going to kill. So, and this song wasn't really about killing your family. So anyway, you know, we'll talk about, he gets home at 1:30. You know, the garage wasn't working. He said it wasn't working. The police asked him for the code so they can get in the garage. He said the keypad, he said it wasn't working or something. Or at that time when he said it wasn't working, is because Nicole Atkinson had already said her son tried to lift the garage door open. You know, tries to force it open. And he said they must have broke something. They must have broke the sensor. Yeah, he said that. So that's why the garage door isn't working. Well, why didn't you just give the officer the code and let him try to see if it's working? Because Nicole doesn't have the code to the garage. So that was a bit confusing to me. Which is it? I think he disabled it when he left because he knew. Well, he didn't know who had the code to it, right? And now he's blaming Nicole Atkinson's son, whoever did it, for trying to lift up the garage door. So he didn't give the police the garage code. He said he'd be there in 5 minutes. But you know what? This was from 10 o'clock till 1:30 till he finally got home. But as we know, during that time, you know, he was working, he was burying bodies, he was killing people, he was talking to his co-workers, he was going from site to site, he was getting all these phone calls, okay? He was getting all these phone calls, and plus he was making all these phone calls. He was a very busy man. How the hell did he have time to do all this? The school was getting called. The school was getting canceled. The realtor, the housing was getting called. To cancel this, cancel that, sell this, sell that. Oh, he had time to send pictures to Nicole with the flowers, you know, in the field. And then talk to Nicole Atkinson. You know, all these things were going up. He was feeling sick. He was puking. He was shitting. You know, he was doing all these things. He had a busy schedule that morning. Damn, I don't even know how this guy wasn't sweating it. Like sweat. But he wasn't. You know what? He was cool as a cucumber, wasn't he? He was as cool as a cucumber. His, well, he might have been a little off, you know, because his friend said he was a bit roughly dressed and everything. He's not as smart as he usually is. You know, he's a bit rough on the edges that day. He noticed, you know, something a little bit off, but he was putting it down to he was tired. Yeah, you were right. He was tired. You don't know what he was doing before you got here. He was tired, all right. Yeah. Now we know why he was tired. Anyway, they said, anyway, he gets in the garage and they want to know, you know, what was you doing when you first opened the garage and you went to the vehicle right away? What was you looking for in there? What was in there? He goes, I don't really know why I went in there. I see the car seats were in there. Yeah. He sees the car seats were in there. For Christ's sake. He says, I don't know really why I went in there. He said, I just went in there. It was just like automatic. You know, he just did it. I don't know. Was it a routine of his? Anyway, he just did it. And I don't know what he was looking for. I think he was just giving it a once-over. Do you know what? A quick glance. Is something in there? Or did he put something in there and forgot to take something out? I don't know. I think he was giving it a once-over just to double-check. And it took him so long to open the front door. They said it took him nearly 2 minutes. Now, I think what he was doing, he had deactivated the alarm. Because you know what? He's carrying these carrying his kids and carrying the body out. That he must have done something to the alarm so it wouldn't keep going off. And then quickly reset it. Now, I don't know if that was proven, whether it's proven that he switched it off and switched it on at a certain time. But that could have been happening. Because where else would he have gone? Quickly gone upstairs? Quickly gone in the kitchen? What was he carrying in his hand? What was he moving around? But anyway, what took him so long to get from the back door to the front door? That should have took 1, 2, 3. Okay, go to 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 20 seconds? Well, anyway, it didn't. It took him a long time. Now, nearly 2 minutes. You could get a lot done in 2 minutes. But like I was saying, the cops were waiting at the door. They could peer through the window. They peered through the side window. Well, they could see where he was coming from. So, people were saying maybe he's in the kitchen, he's doing something, he's upstairs hiding the phone. But you know what? I think they might have seen him coming down the stairs or coming through the kitchen. Now, did they say that? No, he came straight from the garage and then came straight to them. So that's what made me think he was moving something or resetting something. Now the book, they asked him, did you throw that in the trash? He goes, yes, he did. He threw that in the trash. Now, we'll kind of flip to what's been going on in prison. What Colorado prison was like versus Wisconsin prison. Now, apparently he said when he was on suicide watch at Weld County Jail, the prisoners were yelling at him and giving him lots of advice how to kill yourself. Oh yeah, he said that was very dangerous kind of thing. He might not say dangerous, but that's my words. But that made him very, very nervous. And how could they say such a thing to him? Huh. Oh yeah, and he was kind of being bullied. Oh yeah, poor thing. That was a taste of what was to come. Now he also says he likes Wisconsin prison. He likes Dodge. He says he likes Waupun, whatever. He says more or less he's settling in, right in. He's right at home. He's found his calling. He's found God. And he can recite the Bible inside out. And he even recites verses to the investigator. He recites some verses because he said he's got a very good memory. And he can remember. That's just one thing he has on his side. He has a good memory. He don't have a good memory. He can't remember how he murdered these people. That only happened a little while ago. He says that's why he does so good at his job. Because he's very good at remembering things. And he knew his job inside out. And they kind of asked him why he did this job. Do you normally do that? And he said no, but he helps people. Even his co-workers said that he'd be the first one to help out. And he was the first person to help out. Because that's the kind of guy he is. So they kind of said that's normal for him to help out other people because he kind of got more experience than other people. He knew all about what water levels, whatever, But anyway, he goes back to the suicide watch. Now, we were all asking him, was he on suicide watch? Because they were limiting his visitors and everything like that. And they were saying, remember, they said he's not on suicide watch, right? They said he is not on suicide watch. And a lot of us were saying he was on suicide watch. Well, we got it out the horse's mouth. Chris Watts said he was on suicide watch. And well, he was on suicide watch. You know, the person, because remember a little while ago they were saying they took a book away from him because he wasn't supposed to have that book. He's only supposed to have a Bible or something. He only had certain reading materials that he was allowed to read. And somehow, by mistake, I don't know who made this mistake, they let it slip. Now the person that hands out books, whoever hands out books, I don't even know who did it. They gave him a book. And guess what? It was on, guys. It was on murder. And the investigator said that ain't no way that should happen. You shouldn't have such materials, reading materials. He says, well, he said, they asked him what book it was. And he said, Murder at Truman. Murder at Truman Center. Really? I don't know what that book's about. But anyway, that was the first book he had to read. And that's, well, when he was on suicide watch. Well. No, I don't know what that book's about. Does it tell you how to kill yourself? How to hang yourself? I don't know. But anyway, that was the book he said. And the second book, I don't know when he was reading this, but a second book he had was from Patricia Cornwell. One of her books. I don't know what that's based on. He said something about the 18th century or something based 18th century. I guess that might be the book. And then he rabbled on about, I think his grandma read that, used to read those books all the time. Something like that. So he rabbles on about that. Jesus Christ. Now, I know the investigators were, it's a tactic of theirs, humor him, because they know how Chris reacts. You know, befriend him and speak the way they spoke to him, because that's how he reacts. Okay, that's how they have to talk to him. They can't, and you know, they were asked to come. It's not interrogation. This was not an interrogation. This man has been sentenced. He's pled guilty on all counts, and he has been dealt his sentence, life in prison. He'll never get out, and no parole. This had nothing to do with, it won't help him in any way. It doesn't affect his sentence. But he was kind of worried. He asked about Colorado. How is it in Colorado? You know, they're just having a little chat about Colorado, you know, and then the investigator tells him, there's been another murder. Really? Yeah. There's a woman gone missing. Yeah. And her boyfriend's in prison, you know, in jail for it. You know, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I wonder why they told him that. And then Chris Watts said, oh, I expect he'll end up here with me. Oh my God almighty. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Chris Watts thinks because he's been accused of murder, like a woman, that's a heinous crime. That's terrible. You know, like kind of thing. He's like, wow, you know, that's terrible. He'll end up here with me because he's done such a terrible crime. No, it don't work like that. You are a child killer. You made your kids suffer and tortured them. This man's charged with murder. Yeah, he's done a disgusting thing. Mark my words, but I don't think this man's moving out of Colorado. I think they can handle this man quite well. Well, anyway, that's just something that Chris Watts, in his little pea brain, came up with. But anyway, he says he's quite happy where he is, guys. He's comfortable. He's getting all his needs met. He's had macaroni cheese and whatever and a glass of milk before, for breakfast or dinner or what the hell he was talking about. He had macaroni and cheese and a glass of milk. Do you get chocolate milk? Oh, no, we don't get chocolate milk. But you can get chocolate milk. I guess you can if you want to pay extra. Because, that's a luxury. Even milk's a luxury. But I guess that comes with breakfast or at some point. They give him a little glass of milk. Anyway, he's all excited. He says he gets to play basketball with a few inmates. He's made some friends, guys. He's made some friends. And he's settling in just dandy. And he likes it in Wisconsin. And he said about the weather. And, it's kind of windy out here. The wind is blowing. Because out where that prison is all open. It's like, open land. There's some big prisons out there. They're out the way of everything, but not too far out the way. So they're on this big plot of land. And he talks about that, and he likes it. And he's settled in, and he's going to be a productive citizen in the prison system. Oh, yes. And it looks like he might be graduating. Maybe taking some classes and getting a degree. Listen, who's going to waste your money on... Who does these classes? Are they for free? Because, I live in Wisconsin, and we have to pay for the upkeep and well-being of these prisoners. Now, there's people out here that have to pay good money to go to school to get a degree, and starving. Homeless to do it. Working 3 jobs, killing themselves. And you're going to get some education in prison for free? Sounds just dandy. I bet somebody be writing in about that one. Yeah, but you got to understand, guys, they have to keep these high profile, these lifers, they have to keep them busy. They have to keep them happy. At, not at a cost, but a cheap cost, volunteers, that kind of stuff. Give them study groups. He's going to church, he's in that study group now, because they're very, very, very high on religion, because this is what gives prisoners a belief in God, and that keeps them calm, and that keeps them happy. And it's not putting religion down, it's because people find God when they go to prison after they've killed somebody, whatever stupid crime they have done. And people say, like I said, yeah, well, why didn't you find religion before you go in there? Yeah, but you know what? It doesn't matter if you found religion in jail, in prison, out of prison. There's lots of people that go to church every day, every week, and commit heinous crimes. And they found God before they got to prison. And they still committed heinous crimes. They have killed, they have raped. Yes, guys. Preacher men, anybody in the church, we know what they've done. They've abused, they've raped, assaulted, tortured, and these are the people that believed in God before they went to prison. So, that's why I say religion. My God. That's my point of view on it. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, don't be a hypocrite. Don't be a hypocrite. That's all I'm saying. Don't be a hypocrite. Because somebody tried to preach to me one time. I was at work. I'm just saying that. They were a Lutheran. And I'm kind of Lutheran. This is my religion. But I don't go to church anymore. But I've been to church many times in the past. And I used to enjoy it until... until I met all these hypocrites. But anyway, oh my God, I just had a bad experience with people that in the church, and not everybody's bad, but I just know better. I found out the truth. But anyway, this woman was preaching to me, and you know, like I wasn't allowed to smoke, that I need to go to Jesus and get forgiveness, and I need to do this to get forgiveness. You know, they put that on me, and I'm just like, you know, I come to work. One thing you never do. That's one thing I never do. Don't ever talk about religion. Don't throw it on me. I don't throw it on you. You can't talk about my religion. I can't talk about your religion. You can put nobody down for what they believe in. That's third war will break out if you do. So anyway, I've had some experience with religion. It's not that serious, guys. It's not that serious, but you know what I mean. But we have heard this many stories over and over again about people killing people that are in the church. And so finding God when you're in prison, yes, it does help. It helps them understand what life's about and what love is and what's a sin and what's not a sin. But Chris Watts is in the early stages of this religious thing, and apparently you got to know. You can't read the verse. You got to know it, and you got to understand it. You got to know what it really means, because this guy don't know nothing. And if he was that much into Jesus and God, and he'd learned anything, one thing, which I haven't heard all the audio yet. I mean, there's more coming out. I don't know what's coming out. But as you know, these videos are going back and forth, you know, with the questions. And I don't know what the next set of audio is going to be. And, you know. So, like I said, when you're in prison and they find God, prison system likes to have, you know, it likes to make people happy, and going to church is an activity for them, and they're not going to miss it. So just because they say they found God, it doesn't mean they truly believe it. Now guys, it doesn't mean that they really believe in what is being spoken to them. It's an activity to go to. Yes, they will sit there and listen, but are they taking it in? Are they just willy-nilly? But anyway, it's just an activity for them to do, and they don't get many activities. Now, we thought Chris Watts might be in a cell with somebody, but it looks like he's not in a cell with nobody. He said there's about 20 cells. You know, it's a little pod. And he said a lot of people have been coming and going and coming and going. He said it's been pretty busy around here, but just lately it's been quiet. So they've been moving prisoners in and out. He said, I think he said there's single cells, there's cells where there's 2 people, and there might be cells where there's 3 people. But I guess that's, I don't know. Chris Watts said you have to graduate. You have to graduate to different areas in the pod. You know, that's what he's saying. You kind of have to earn your way to a bigger room, or to a roommate, to have a roommate. You have to have been there for a while. You have to get assessed, and you have to behave yourself. You have to be good behavior. You have to be a model citizen, prisoner, that is, and stuff like that. And it sounds like he doesn't like his mother very much, but he sure knows a lot about what's going on and what's being said in the media. And so I'm just going to leave you with this one. He asks us if he's going to go back to Colorado. Is he going to go back to Colorado? Because you know what? Chris was scared. He was scared he might get sent back to Colorado, because he don't want to go back to Colorado. He likes it in Wisconsin. They're treating him real good there. Not like in Colorado when they were trying to get him to kill himself and yell at him and be nasty to him. Yeah, that scared him. But so far, he's being treated well. And you know, another thing, he's fitting in well because he's that type of person. Easygoing. He just goes along for the ride, and that's how he fits in prison. He's happy to be bossed around and told when to get up and go to bed. That's kind of normal for him. He had a routine like that before. So life in prison is no different. Like I said, he gets to watch a little TV, he gets to get out, he gets to socialize, he gets to play basketball, and he gets to talk to the guards, I guess, once in a while, whatever. And they keep a close eye on him all. You know, he went all through that. Yeah. So he likes it in Wisconsin, and he don't want to be moved. And then he talks about how bad California is, how, you know, like well, I guess he's really glad that he never went to California, because he's heard some bad stories about California. Now, he probably heard them in prison. The prisoners have probably told him all about it, you know. But you know what? Unless Chris Watts already knows about stuff like that, you think he would know prisons are bad, you know, which is the worst prison, you know, because we all hear it, you know, a roundabout way. Oh my God, them prisons are terrible. But anyway, I must say, he got lucky. Well, in my opinion, I think he's got lucky. He could be in a worse prison. Now, he doesn't know where he's getting moved yet. We don't even know if he's going to stay there yet. For good. I mean, for good. He's there right now till they figure out where he's going to go. And he could well get moved right out of Waupun to a worse Wisconsin prison. So let's see. We'll see the updates as they come out. So this is a little bit more of the audio I was listening to. And I know, I'm sorry guys, it just went on. But they are saying the same old thing. They're saying the audio's long, but they're going back and forth. And each time they go back and forth, they're saying a little bit different things. That's what I mean. A little bit more information's coming out. Or he says it a little bit different. Do you know what? Yeah, because Chris Watts can't keep his story straight. He can't keep his story straight. Now, if he really thinks this confession, or whatever he wants to call it, this bit of information that he put out, it's going to help this case go away, it's done the opposite effect. Because now he's really done it in the sickest way possible. That's all I'm saying, guys. You can agree with me. We can have a discussion on your thoughts. It didn't help him one bit. Now we feel even worse about him. That he did it in such a cruel way. And, you know, little Cece didn't know what was coming, but Bella see it all. If this is true, what he said, if it is true. Now, I know a lot of you say, yeah, it must be true, the kids were alive. I mean, that's what he's saying. But you know what, guys? He could be out for revenge. He could be doing the shock effect. Could be making all this up, the bullshit. Because he wants them to come back and talk to him a bit more, because, you know, he likes them, investigators from Colorado. But anyway, I think they're going to do, like, study him or something, because, you know, they'd like to come back and see him. And he said, sure. And the other one says, we don't know if we'll be back ever again. So, I don't know. Anyway, guys, let's have a discussion and your thoughts. And thank you for stopping by.